The following program is paid for by Barasch McGarry, lawyers for the 9/11 community. If you worked, lived, or attended school in Lower Manhattan below Canal Street on 9/11 or for any part of the 8 months after, stay tuned to see if you qualify for compensation from the $10 billion government fund and free health care set aside for those exposed to 9/11 toxins.
It's your courage and your resilience that brought this place back. So please, I urge you, access what you are owed.
Today's program is for anyone who worked, lived, attended school, or volunteered in Lower Manhattan on 9/11 or any time during the following 8 months.
If you or a family member did, you were exposed to toxic air that hung over downtown Manhattan the months after the World Trade Center towers came down.
Yeah, you may be one of the affected victims and not even know it. September 11th, 2001 was a day that is emblazoned in the minds of people all over the world.
And for those who were there that day or in the months that followed, the day lives on. Because after the collapse of the World Trade Center towers, a cloud of smoke and fumes enveloped the entire downtown area. And as those who were there can attest, the smoke kept rising from the ashes months and months after the towers went down.
The air downtown was horrible. Every day that I would come to work, my nose would burn, my eyes would burn.
There was all of this dust.
My classroom was on the 6th floor, and when the wind was blowing in the wrong direction, all my students and I had to cover our noses.
It turns out that the cloud was toxic, and anyone who breathed in the air has had their health compromised, whether they know it already or not. The 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund was specially set up so the people who worked, lived, went to school, or volunteered in Lower Manhattan on or after 9/11 are not forgotten, and to compensate them for any health issues they've experienced or may experience in the future.
The United States Congress authorized this $10 billion fund to provide compensation for those affected by the events of 9/11. You do not need to have a life-threatening illness to qualify.
You're entitled to it by virtue of the fact that you were present in the exposure area. You was put in danger, your health was put in danger.
I did get a monetary award from the Victims' Compensation Fund, which again has been life-changing.
You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family to apply for those funds because they are there and they are available.
In addition, Congress also established the World Trade Center Health Program, which provides free nationwide health care for life to anyone who's had their health impacted as a result of breathing in air that was toxic. Even if you have been completely symptom-free, call our health and compensation hotline now to talk to one of our claim administrators.
Here's a map of the 9/11 exposure zone. It covers downtown Manhattan. Over 300,000 people worked in this area on or after 9/11. Over 50,000 people attended or taught school there. Over 25,000 people lived there. There were hundreds of large and small companies located inside the exposure zone, including the stock exchanges, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, American Express, Citigroup, Verizon, and many others. Schools inside the exposure zone include Pace University, Borough of Manhattan Community College, New York Law School, Stuyvesant High School, and 12 other New York City public schools. Also inside the exposure zone are Chinatown, Battery Park, the Fulton Fish Market, the New York County Courts, and hundreds of other neighborhoods and businesses. If you, a family member, or anyone you know was exposed on 9/11, or for any part of the 8 months that followed, now is the time to call this hotline to speak to our claim administrators.
Many people do not connect their current health issues to the presence in Lower Manhattan in the months after 9/11, and as a result, they are missing out on what could be significant compensation and free health care.
I was diagnosed with lymphoma. Nobody in my family ever had cancer. I just figured it was my turn.
You're inhaling these chemicals, you're inhaling these particles, and for some people, it caused a lot of damage. It caused damage to their heart, damage to their lungs.
There are over 90 physical conditions that have been linked to and certified by experts as 9/11 illnesses. Conditions that qualify include dozens of gastrorespiratory illnesses like asthma, sleep apnea, GERD, rhinosinusitis, and many others. Over 68 cancers also qualify, including skin cancers such as basal cell, squamous cell, and melanoma, prostate cancer, breast cancer for both men and women, lung cancer, cancer of the kidney, bladder, brain, or liver, or mesothelioma. Any of these conditions may qualify you for significant compensation. Now is the time to call.
Some assume that their illness is based on family history. However, the National Institute of Health has declared that there is a presumption linking 68 cancers and many respiratory illnesses to the World Trade Center toxins, regardless of your family medical history.
$8 billion in claims have already been paid out. As you can see, awards have been substantial. There's enough money in the fund to compensate everyone, but please do not delay. If you or a family member worked, lived, went to school, or served as a responder or volunteer in the exposure zone on 9/11 or during any part of the 8 months that followed, whether you have health symptoms or not, we urge you to call the number on your screen. It'll connect you with a representative of Barasch McGarry, the firm that handles 9/11 victim compensation claims.
At no cost or obligation to you, they will help you determine if you qualify for compensation from the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund. And if you do, they will help you assemble the required documentation and correctly file a claim with the fund. They will also help you enroll in the World Trade Center Health Program.
These funds have been set aside awaiting claims. So it's important that you don't delay and make this call now. You and your family will be glad you did.
Stay tuned to hear firsthand stories of people who received compensation from the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund. If your experiences are like theirs, you may qualify for compensation just like them.
If you worked, lived, attended school, or volunteered in Lower Manhattan below Canal Street on or after 9/11, or someone in your family did, you may be entitled to significant compensation and free nationwide health care for life. Anyone who spent time in Lower Manhattan on 9/11-2001 or any part of the following 8 months was exposed to toxic particles in the air. If you or someone in your family was there, call the 9/11 Health and Compensation Hotline or go to 911victims.com. At no cost or obligation, a representative of Barasch McGarry, the firm that handles 9/11 compensation claims, will review your eligibility with you right away. If you qualify, we can help you assemble the required documentation and correctly register a claim. The United States Congress has designated over $10 billion for the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, and the World Trade Center Health Program provides free nationwide health care for life. Even if you've experienced no health issues since the events of 9/11, call or go online now. While 80% of first responders have enrolled in the World Trade Center Health Program, only 10% of non-responders have. Please help spread the word. Don't delay. Millions of dollars are still unclaimed. Strict deadlines apply. Call or go online now to see if you qualify. Call 800-301-4608 now. That's 800-301-4608.
For those who were there on 9/11 and after, their lives will never be the same. People return to their homes, workplaces, and schools across downtown Manhattan. This was an act of courage, facing down the deep emotional scars that remained.
We heard from Christy Whitman that they tested the air and it was quite safe to come back. But I was having a lot of sinus issue and I couldn't breathe.
Because the air remained toxic for many months after 9/11, the health impacts to those who spend time downtown has in some cases been extreme, including tragic deaths from cancer or emphysema, and in some cases milder.
Now, recent reports are finding that many people who are having symptoms aren't even aware that they're connected to 9/11.
16 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. There was no history in my family of anyone getting breast cancer.
I had a basal cell cancer, and I was like, well, how do I know that it was from 9/11? What if it was from my family, or what if I was just bad luck?
It probably took 10 years. I wound up with male breast cancer, and I did feel a lump in my chest. which I didn't know that males could even get breast cancer. So I thought it was a cyst.
It's a presumption that it's from 9/11. So you don't have to, like, I thought I had to like prove it, have proof, like they're gonna like take my, check my skin and like see if it's in your family and check your genes and all this, but it wasn't like that. It was very simple. This is it, this is what you have, then, we could enroll you.
They walked me through it, basically. It was very generous and very simple.
$8 billion have already been awarded to people affected by the 9/11 attacks, ranging from those with minor respiratory illnesses to those with life-threatening cancers.
For those who have already claimed their benefits, the compensation and health care have provided some consolation and financial security.
I did get a monetary award from the Victims' Compensation Fund, which again has been life-changing.
I can tell you that without that compensation, life would have been much harder.
They did an unbelievable job in handling my claim and got it settled expeditiously. I couldn't have been happier with the way things worked out.
All too many people don't realize the benefits are available to them and aren't just for first responders.
If you were a teacher there, the secretary, a janitor, whoever you were, if you were working in that area, you definitely should enroll, and you should be compensated.
I would implore anybody that's been down there, because you never know. Here it took 9.5, 10 years for this to affect me. You never know when it's going to affect you.
Now is the time for everyone affected by this tragedy to claim their benefits.
You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family to apply for those funds, because they are there and they are available. At least make the phone call to see if you qualify.
You just have to reach out and take what is yours.
Stay tuned to hear directly from 9/11 victim advocates about how they've been able to help ordinary people who are in downtown Manhattan after 9/11 collect compensation and free health care for life. Their stories will inspire you. Stay tuned.
If you worked, lived, attended school, or volunteered below Canal Street on or after 9/11, you may be entitled to significant compensation and free nationwide health care for life. Anyone who spent time in Lower Manhattan on 9/11-2001 or any part of the following 8 months was exposed to toxic particles in the air. If you or someone in your family was there, call the 9/11 Health and Compensation Hotline or go to 911victims.com. At no cost or obligation, a representative of Barasch McGarry, the firm that handles 9/11 compensation claims, will review your eligibility with you right away. If you qualify, we can help you assemble the required documentation and correctly register a claim. Don't delay. Millions of dollars are still unclaimed. Strict deadlines apply. Call or go online now to see if you qualify. Call 800-301-4608 now. That's 800-301-4608.
The United States Congress first funded the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund in 2001, but the fund expired in 2004. At that point, there was no health program at all. Then the 9/11 community sprang into action. Victim advocates like TV host and Lower Manhattan resident Jon Stewart, unions, and other advocates, including 9/11 responder John Fiel and attorney Michael Barasch, went to Washington, D.C. and lobbied Congress directly, fighting for compensation for those directly impacted.
They knew when the EPA assured us falsely that the air was safe to breathe, they knew that they had made a big mistake.
The federal government had told us all that the air was safe to breathe. That was not true.
But the government did the right thing by creating these programs.
All you have to do is show where you lived, or where you went to school, or where you worked.
Anyone that lived or worked in the downtown area, regardless of where you live now, regardless of what your health is, call us and we will give you a personal consultation to explain the benefits of the law, to explain what the World Trade Center Health Program is, to explain the compensation that's available from the Victim Compensation Fund.
If you worked or lived or went to school in Lower Manhattan, these programs are available to you.
In 2011, the World Trade Center Health Program providing free nationwide health care for life, and the $10 billion 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund providing compensation to those who qualify were created to ensure that everyone who was inside the exposure zone in Lower Manhattan on 9/11 or up to 8 months afterwards and experienced any health issues at all could be covered, even if they did not realize there was any connection between their health and their previous exposure to post-9/11 toxic air.
It was a real epiphany for many clients to make the connection that all of their suffering and everything they've been through was from their exposure almost 20 years ago.
I just hope that people spread the word to the people that were in the zone, that they know, hey, did you know you can get health care? Did you know you can get some financial stability for your 9/11 related conditions?
Most people in the 9/11 community don't believe these programs are real. All we're trying to do is open up people's minds to the possibility that, yes, I should take advantage of these benefits.
One of the biggest misconceptions is that the healthcare program and the victim compensation fund is for just for first responders. It's not. It's for the whole 9/11 community.
You're not taking anything away from anybody. If you go in the World Trade Center Health Program, whether you're sick or not, you're not taking a penny away from anybody.
We're on a mission here to make sure that everyone, the over 400,000 people that were exposed to the toxins at Ground Zero, take advantage of the benefits of this law.
This can be life-changing money for your family. Well, the Victim Fund gives between $250,000 and $340,000 tax-free to anyone with cancer. You're dealing with people who really understand, people who are taking this personally because they've gone through it. And we will make this as easy as possible for you.
Don't wait. Do it tomorrow. Because you'll have peace of mind and you'll be protecting yourself and your family.
Victim advocate John Stewart has encouraged anyone who worked, lived, went to school, or volunteered in Lower Manhattan on or after 9/11 to take advantage of the World Trade Center Health Program that provides free nationwide health care for life.
I'm in great awe of those who came back to a war-torn neighborhood that was clearly toxic. We knew it. But you stayed anyway. And you allowed this area to grow. And the price that you pay for it now is one that means you've earned our respect, our attention, but also your own health care.
Stay with us to hear real stories from everyday people who were there on 9/11. Their stories are finally being heard so many years after the events of that day. Their firsthand accounts show us how brave and courageous they were. We'll be right back.
If you worked, lived, attended school, or volunteered below Canal Street on or after 9/11, you may be entitled to significant compensation and free nationwide health care for life. Anyone who spent time in Lower Manhattan on 9/11-2001 or any part of the following 8 months was exposed to toxic particles in the air. If you or someone in your family was there, call the 9/11 Health and Compensation Hotline or go to 911victims.com. At no cost or obligation, a representative of Barasch McGarry, the firm that handles 9/11 compensation claims, will review your eligibility with you right away. If you qualify, we can help you assemble the required documentation and correctly register a claim. Don't delay. Millions of dollars are still unclaimed. Strict deadlines apply. Call or go online now to see if you qualify. Call 800-301-4608 now. That's 800-301-4608.
In 2001, something unprecedented in American history happened. On a bright, late summer morning, terrorists flew hijacked jets first into the World Trade Center North Tower, then into the South Tower. Within hours, both towers had collapsed, killing thousands of people instantly and creating a large mushroom cloud that covered everything in its path with suffocating ash.
I arrived early that morning. As everybody always says, it was such a beautiful morning.
I was actually sitting across from one of my peers, and he said, "Look how low that plane is." So I spun around. I was in a swivel seat. I spun around and watched the plane go in.
I don't even remember now how long I was at my desk when the first plane hit. And I knew it hit because the whole building shook.
I was actually on VC Street on Broadway when it happened. But like so many other people, I thought it was just a small commuter plane.
Got right on the phone and I called my wife. She said, I just saw it on television. They said it was a small plane. And I said, no, it was a big plane.
We realized it wasn't an accident when the second plane hit.
We walked over and we're standing very close to the window, and here comes the other plane. And you could actually hear them gun the engines on that plane and like make a turn and fly in on an angle.
We heard this loud rumble that sounded like a train coming right at us, and it was the second plane.
I ran down 37 flights of stairs because I didn't want to get stuck in an elevator if we lost power.
All of a sudden, the first tower began to fall.
One of the people I work with turned around and said, look at that. And we watched the first tower pancake.
We went running down the 18 flights of stairs. By the time we got to the lobby was filled with smoke.
I was a crime scene investigator with NYPD.
We kept running, and the other firefighters and cops kept coming towards the disaster.
There was so much dust. All the buildings were covered in dust. The cars were covered in dust. People were walking around looking for loved ones.
My mother worked at the World Financial Center, and so I didn't know where she was either.
I did not feel like I was in New York City. It was like being in a war zone.
The pH level of that toxic dust was the same as Drano, and it was on everybody's skin. It was going down everybody's neck, on their hands, on their arms.
2 weeks after the attacks, you could almost see the dust in the air. It went on our skin, it seeped in, it got into our system. So yeah, skin cancer 100% related to the toxins.
Every day that I would come to work, my nose would burn, my eyes would burn, I started to feel sick, I developed asthma.
So many people were exposed to this toxic dust, and our mission is to make sure that everybody accesses what they are entitled to.
Over 2,900 people lost their lives on September 11, 2001, including 125 at the Pentagon and 265 on the 4 airplanes, including Flight 93, which crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. If you or a family member worked, lived, went to school, or were a responder or volunteer in the exposure zone on or in the 8 months after 9/11, or was a first responder at the Pentagon or in Shanksville, you should call the toll-free number on your screen without delay.
It's your courage and your resilience that brought this place back. So please, I urge you, access what you are owed.
If you worked, lived, attended school, or volunteered below Canal Street on or after 9/11, you may be entitled to significant compensation and free nationwide health care for life. Anyone who spent time in Lower Manhattan on 9/11-2001 or any part of the following 8 months was exposed to toxic particles in the air. If you or someone in your family was there, call the 9/11 Health and Compensation Hotline or go to 911victims.com. At no cost or obligation, a representative of Barasch McGarry, the firm that handles 9/11 compensation claims, will review your eligibility with you right away. If you qualify, we can help you assemble the required documentation and correctly register a claim. Don't delay. Millions of dollars are still unclaimed. Strict deadlines apply. Call or go online now to see if you qualify. Call 800-301-4608 now. That's 800-301-4608.
September 11th, 2001 changed so much so quickly. But for the people who were in downtown Manhattan on 9/11 and afterwards, the events of that day live on.
Some suspected that the air they were breathing was toxic, even though the EPA told us the air was safe. Now we know that the air was not safe at all. Anyone who breathed the air has had their health compromised, whether they know it already or not. If you or a family member were there on 9/11 or the months that followed, please call the number on your screen.
The $10 billion 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund provides compensation, including to family members who have lost loved ones who died from 9/11 illnesses. Sadly, more people who were there have died since 9/11 than died on 9/11.
Liana Rivera was a paralegal in our office, just a dynamo of a woman. The thing about Liana that was so incredible was that she wanted to continue working while she fought cancer. And so we all knew that she was going through this very difficult treatment, and still we'd see her coming in and putting on a brave face.
Our father was a firefighter, and he was diagnosed with bladder cancer that was linked to his exposure at the World Trade Center. The thing that made my father the happiest right before he passed away was that he was able to get into the health program and make that financial security for the rest of the family.
One of the things that makes this firm so special is that everybody takes this work so personally. We know that what we do is meaningful and important. We know that we make a difference in people's lives. We know how important this help is.
Our law firm has already lost over 100 9/11 clients to COVID. In all cases, there was an underlying respiratory illness or the client had had chemo, which destroyed their immune system. Fortunately, the Victim Compensation Fund is recognizing these COVID-related deaths as 9/11 deaths. So please take advantage and make the claim.
$8 billion in claims have already been paid out. As you can see, awards have been substantial. There's enough money in the fund to compensate everyone, but please do not delay. The United States Congress has designated funds and free health care for those impacted by being in the exposure zone in Lower Manhattan on or after 9/11.
All you have to do is show where you lived, or where you went to school, or where you worked.
Anyone that lived or worked in the downtown area, regardless of where you live now, regardless of what your health is, call us and we will give you a personal consultation to explain the benefits of the law, to explain what the World Trade Center Health Program is, to explain the compensation that's available from the Victim Compensation Fund.
If you worked or lived or went to school in Lower Manhattan, these programs are available to you.
If you or a family member were exposed to the toxic cloud, even if you have no current disease or symptoms, you owe it to yourself to call the number on your screen right now.
It will connect you with a representative of Barasch McGarry, the firm that handles 9/11 victim compensation claims.
And at no cost or obligation to you, they will help you determine if you qualify, and if you do, they will help you assemble the required documentation and correctly file a claim.
These funds have been set aside awaiting claims. It's important that you don't delay and make this call now. You and your family will be glad you did. Time is running out. Please listen carefully. If you worked, lived, went to school, or volunteered in the exposure zone on or after 9/11, you may qualify for free health care, as well as compensation from the $10 billion fund set aside for those people who suffered as a result of the events of 9/11.
Even if you don't think you qualify, please call the Health Care and Compensation Hotline, where our claim administrators will patiently listen to you to determine if you are qualified to receive the benefits set aside for those affected by this tragedy.
The benefits and funds are waiting for you. You and your family deserve this. Make that call.
The preceding program was paid for by Barasch McGarry, lawyers for the 9/11 community.